Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Doza Zulu from the Student Retention Unit. Thank you for your time. We welcome you. Today, the purpose of the broadcast today is to have a conversation and acknowledge the diversity of students that UNISA has. And today we just want to have a conversation and sensitize everybody of the diversity in our UNISA community. So thank you so much for joining us today. Our sign language interpreter is Miss Sophie Mabaso. We have other guests that I will introduce later, but for now, can I just welcome you? And also just to have house rules, may I kindly ask everybody when you join in that, and everybody who's in the broadcast now, that you mute your mic so that we do not interrupt the session. And also to switch off your video. At the end of our conversation, you will have time to pose your questions. And also, after the broadcast, we will post it on our website, and we'll also have it on YouTube. So you're more than welcome to go and rewatch the broadcast. And also, we're going to be sending a survey. May I kindly just ask everybody that after this interesting conversation that you fill in the survey so that we as Student Retention Unit are aware of the challenges that you are experiencing, and more than anything, for any other topic that you want us to discuss as a first-year student that interests you, in a sense that how, as a Student Retention Unit, we can assist you in your journey or in your academic journey. So thank you so much for joining us today. So today's theme is focusing on disability. The aim of this broadcast is to have a conversation and sensitize everybody of the diverse backgrounds that we come from as UNISA students and the community of UNISA. And basically to have a conversation with people who have gone through the first year journey and how they were able to achieve their goals in terms of their academic journey and how they were able to overcome whatever environment that they're actually coming from. So I would kindly like to welcome our guest, Mr. Pinchas Nguna, Ms. Vanessa Makobedi, and Mr. Chike. Colleagues, may you kindly just switch on your mics so that our students will see you and so that we can start our conversation. Thank you so much. Welcome. Thank you, everybody. Nice to see you. Thank you so much. So just to begin this conversation, I would kindly like our guests to introduce themselves, starting with you, Mr. Nguna. Thank you.
Good morning, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pinchas Nguna. I'm from the Advocacy and Resource Center for Students with Disabilities, ADSWID, which is one of the units under the Office of the Dean of Students. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Tebogo Chike, you can go ahead.
Good morning, all of you. My name is Tebogo Chike. I'm a legal and procedural support divisional head at the city of Ekurhuleni and a former student of UNISA. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Welcome. And Ms. Vanessa Mukobedi, you can go ahead.
Good day, everyone. My name is Vanessa, and I'm a current master's student of psychology. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. I don't know why I started with the gentleman because it's Women's Month. Happy Women's Month, everybody.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. So just to start our conversation, I think the overarching idea is to have a conversation where we inspire students from all walks of life. But today's theme is just focusing on disability. And which we know it's a conversation that we need to have as a society thus we as UNISA see this is very important, that people from different backgrounds are aware of each other, and that we live in a community that is diverse. So just to kickstart our conversation, I'll start with the question just for you, Mr. Nkuna. So as a UNISA, which disabilities are recognized by UNISA?
Thank you, Ms. Zulu, for the question. In terms of disabilities, UNISA accommodates all disabilities. And what we did as UNISA, we've categorized disabilities in such a way that when a student enrolled with us, then they are able to select the disability that is relevant to them. Mm-hmm. Just to give an example, we have 22 codes. The first, in terms of the codes, the first one, it's for students without a disability. Second one, for those who are visually impaired, blind, become to partially sighted. Then up to code 22. And again, we have a code where that is allocated to students with multiple disabilities. Okay. Because we are aware that as a student, you may have more than one disability. And then the purpose of these codes is for the university to provide reasonable accommodation as per your needs. Okay. We are mindful that in terms of disclosing a disability, it is your right to disclose or not to disclose. Okay. But I must emphasize that if you don't disclose your disability, you may not demand or receive reasonable accommodation from the university, because the university will not be aware of your needs. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nkuna. Thank you for that. Okay, I think maybe the next question for me would be maybe to go to you, Ms. Vanessa, just to share your experience as a UNISA graduate on why you chose UNISA and how were you able to graduate?
All right. To be honest, UNISA was not my first option. Okay. But because I knew the type of learner I am. So my disability is the invisible one. It's a learning disability. Okay. So when I first got to UNISA, I was very scared that it is a long distance university. There is no lectures, you register, they give you study material, you buy your prescribed books, they give you the assignment date, they give you the exam date, and you're on your own, So I kind of struggled in my first and second year. It is only on my third year that I was introduced to XSuite, and I was like, wow, let me explore this option. And when I spoke to Mr. Nkuna, he was very welcoming, very understanding. And I told him that I'm struggling with reading and comprehending, because, first year and second year is more, you are assessed via multiple questions and so forth. But when coming to third year, now you have to apply your mind. Mm-hmm. Now you have to read chapters, comprehend what is the author saying, what does the lecturer want from me? And that is where it became very difficult for me. However, through the tools that were given to me, it made it much more easier for me to actually read and go line by line through my study material and really comprehend what is happening. And for me, that is how I got to graduate, through the assistant. So I'm really grateful for that. And what Mr. Nkuna just said right now is that you need to disclose your disability, because in my first year, second year, you become very shy to tell people that, hey, I'm dyslexic, I've got a learning disability, because you are in this big university, the University of South Africa, and so much is expected from one, because if you say I have a learning disability, they see you as stupid. This one is so stupid, she's so dumb, she just has a pretty face. But once you disclose and You just take whatever stereotypes and put it behind you and say, this is my journey. You know, at the end of the day, I'm the one who's going to walk that stage and, you know, wearing that gown. So am I going to allow stereotypes or what people are thinking or what they say about me to then make me to give up? So I said, I'm going to disclose this because at the end of the day, I'm doing it for myself and no one else.
Wow, that is very inspiring. And thank you for choosing UNISA for that matter. And now you are doing your master's with UNISA, so it's great. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I think someone who's also walked, or someone who's in the process, especially because our focus is first-year students, can learn a few things that you've actually raised. That, you know, you shouldn't succumb to stereotypes because now you've graduated. The journey is not easy from what I picked up from what you're saying in your story. So yeah. I think just to share that the journey is not easy, but the fact that you are able to overcome no matter your environment, it's very inspiring. Thank you so much, Ms. Mukobit. Mr. Chike, maybe you can share your story, why you chose UNISA and how were you able to graduate? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Zulu. I had the opportunity to come to UNISA for my registration.
Okay.
And the first thing when I was there, I was taken out of the line and to be told that there's an office for people with disability. Okay. That's where they will help you. So that's where I met as well Mr. Nkuna, who was very helpful, and will be my support throughout my studies.
Okay.
So I was able to complete my first degree, which was LLB.
Okay.
Later on, I also enrolled for Bachelor of Arts in Administration, where I also graduated. And later on, with the support of Mr. Nkuna, I also went on to do my MPL, which I finished this year in June. So it has been a long journey at UNISA. And studying at UNISA requires much focus because it's a long distance learning institution. So you would have to create support for yourself, make sure that you meet with fellow students who have the same goals as you, form groups, and of course use the tutorial letters to speak to your lecturers who you would find their names, including their telephones there, if you have any query, because most students do not use these things and say, hey, I'm a student at UNISA, I have a difficulty on this subject. Would you make time for me? When can I phone you so that we are able to discuss? Because that support is needed because you're far from your lectures and classes. So for me, it has been one experience and journey that was fulfilling, that also taught me that I can be able to work on myself alone and be able to share my experiences with other learners using platforms such as Teams. At a time, we also used WhatsApps to make sure that we share notes and so on and so on. So it has been a fulfilling one, the one that I'll encourage people to do. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story of how UNISA have actually been with you. And it seems like Mr. Nkuna is a key person in your journeys. Thank you so much, for Mr. Nkuna, for representing us as UNISA and actually playing your role in a very big way. Can I just remind everybody that I see a hand raised. We will have a session where you'll be asking questions at the end. For now, your mics and your cameras are off. So may you please not interrupt the session in that way. We will have questions at the end. So please be mindful of that. Thank you so much. So Mr. Nkuna, maybe I can thank you so much for sharing your story, Mr. Chike. Okay, maybe my next question I think Ms. Vanessa and Mr. Chike have actually alluded on what obstacles did you encounter and were you able to overcome in your academic journey? Maybe I can start with you, Ms. Vanessa. Maybe the line is a bit off. Maybe Mr. Chike, you can come in there for now.
Thank you, Ms. Zulu. I think one of the most recognizable and perhaps important hurdle one must be able to deal with as a student, it's the issue of finances. Okay. And on our side, that I must say up front that we're lucky because ACSWIT was there to be able to give us the bursaries and direct us in terms of resources and say, we can be able to offer you a computer if you fulfill these requirements and so on and so on. Okay. But that's the first thing. So as a first year student, you must know that you are able to pay for your fees, have the means to buy your textbooks, because that will be important first and foremost. Yeah. In terms of learning, because it's a long distance learning, you must be able to make sure that in terms of time, you are organized. One of the things I had to overcome in my first years was that I needed to manage time, because remember, you are not in class. There's no one who's encouraging you to tell you that you are at this stage and so. So you're pushing yourself through the semester to make sure that by the time when exam comes, you have completed your syllabus. So I had to do much change in terms of how I look at my time. I made time for my studies, whether in the evening or in the morning. I had particular time which every day I dedicated for studying. The other challenge for me was also when I had to read something I don't understand, to be able to speak to my lecturers in time so that I'm able to get appropriate time to discuss that matter with them. So I would phone them, ask them for that time where they'll be available to take my call so that we are able to discuss this matter. So it was an issue of time management for me all the time, making space for reading and learning and making sure that I'm able to be in touch with those who can assist me so that they create also time for myself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chike. I think from that, I can gather that time management is very, very important to be able to actually organize yourself in your academic journey, and the fact that you need to be in constant communication with your lecturers or any other support that you need. In this case, for you, it was Mr. Nkune, who's from ACSWIT. Maybe the important thing that I think we didn't talk about is maybe Mr. Nkune, you can come in and explain what is the unit of ACSWIT for the benefits of those who do not know.
Thank you so much, Ms. Zulu. ACSWIT was established in 2003 to provide services to students with disabilities. Our services goes throughout the student work. What we do, we first visit special schools and different organizations to recruit prospective students with disabilities. Then at the point of registration, we assist students in terms of selecting modules and also ensuring that they receive funding for their studies when they meet the requirements. Okay. For the academic year 2021, we are advocating for all students with disabilities, irrespective of your disability, whether it's physically or it's invisible, to receive laptops. Then students with disabilities will receive, all of them will be receiving laptops. Then also we have a one-page form that is called special assistance form. In this form, we request the student to complete in terms of the kind of study material that they need, because we believe that persons with disabilities may present the same disability and their needs will differ.
Yes.
Just for example, we have students who are blind who will come there and say, I was born blind, therefore I prefer braille material. And we have those who acquired blindness in late stages of their lives. They therefore prefer audio material, electronic or DAISY. That is basically the purpose of that form. And also because we believe in reasonable accommodation in terms of their exams. What we do, we provide students with a form where they consent and give us the details on how they want to present their question papers, and whenever they need extra time, they also indicate there. Because, as I said earlier, you may find people having the same disability, but in terms of the extra time, also it will be different. The needs will be different.
Yes.
And this particular form, we request students to take it to their medical practitioners or their organizations to complete. By so doing, we are not taking students back to the medical model. We want to confirm the information because we are an Odell institution.
Yes.
And again, in the past, we found that non-disabled students requested the service in such a way that they were abusing the services for students with disabilities. As ACSWID, it's our responsibility to safeguard this service for deserving students. And again, for students who are unable to submit assignments because of their disabilities or medical conditions, we as ACSWID, we are able to motivate for them to be given an extension.
Mm-hmm.
By so doing, we are not encouraging laziness, where students will be lazy, not submit assignments in time, and say, we know ACSWID will motivate.
Yeah.
Please, students, whatever you do, please be ethical.
Yes.
And again, in terms of the assistive devices that students receive, for this particular year, 2021, the allocation is 50,000, which means the student can apply for assistive devices up to 50,000. And in terms of medical assessment, there's also a separate allocation of 2,000 rands, where a student can request in order to consult their doctor. And in addition to that, we have a 50,000 rand allocation for the year 2021 for students who need human support.
Okay.
One may ask, what is human support? If for instance, you are a student who's on a wheelchair, you need somebody to push you around, that 50,000 can be used to pay the person who will be pushing you around.
Mm.
If you are blind, if you need somebody to take you around to the university, or maybe to collect certain study material or to access certain resources, that money can be used to fund the student. Again, for students with learning disabilities, if there are certain material where you need a private tutor to assist you in terms of accessing it, then you can also apply for the human support funds. And going to students who are deaf, when you are deaf, from time to time, you need a sign language interpreter.
Yeah.
Then we can use these funds to pay for a sign language interpreter. And also, in terms of graduations, we are also there to ensure that students, when they go to graduations, they are treated with respect and dignity that they richly deserve. For instance, just imagine if there's physical graduation where you have to attend, only to find that the program is incited and you are blind. That will be a huge embarrassment to us as the university, and also it will be painful for you as a graduate.
Yeah.
What we therefore do is to ensure that all the material is accessible. And also going back to my earlier statement, it is important that students with disabilities disclose their disabilities in order to receive reasonable accommodation. And I must emphasize that disability is can be acquired by anyone, anytime.
Yes.
Please don't be afraid of disclosing your disability. Even if you acquired a disability during the course of your studies, we are here for you. And then I must also emphasize that a majority of the staff members in ArcSuite are persons with diverse disabilities. We have first-hand experience of disability.
Yeah.
I thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think you've answered 3 of my questions already in one. But just to go back to Ms. Gobedi, thank you so much for coming back. I think the question, I will pose the same question as I did to Mr. Chike, just to maybe share your experience on what obstacles did you encounter and were you able to overcome in your journey from your first day until you graduated?
Sorry about the connection.
No, it's okay.
It will disappoint you at times.
Yeah.
So as I was saying, the first challenge that I had, it was internal, it was with self.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, you are the one who sits down and who studies, who has to write the assignments and who has to write the exam. So you need to be encouraged, motivated each and every day, and tell yourself, get out of your bed, look at your books, look at your laptop, continuously tell yourself that I can do it despite my disability. The other thing is looking at other people, because at UNISA, I'll go to school, to campus, each and every day at the Sunnyside campus, and there will be study groups, and I'll see how my fellow study mates grab something so easily,
Yeah.
And there was this one guy who would always tease me and say, when you are so dyslexic, and for that, it will be very discouraging.
Yeah.
So the other obstacle is that don't look at other people and what they're doing, what they are saying about you. As I said before, it is your journey, we are all differently abled. It doesn't mean that when I cannot do one thing or when I don't have a certain ability that other people have, that now I must look at myself and say I am useless, or I cannot do this, or I'll give up. I'll just look at that guy and I'll be like, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, the both of us, we will walk that stage, and I will get my degree. And I got my degree, I got my honors, and now I'm doing my master's. And I'm looking at this guy, I'm like, how you still go honors? Look at me now with the learning disability. The other thing is the family around you, the support that you get from family. Sometimes your family does not understand, and they think you just want attention. They don't know the struggle that you face, most especially being a UNISA student. You are not on campus, isolated somewhere. You are at home, you are still a daughter, and you still have other responsibilities that you have to do on top of studying. So it is very important that, one, you need to have a study timetable where you outline that this is the time I'll do my chores, this is the time I'm going to study, and so forth. And also negotiate with your family members and say, I'm at university, this is what's needed from me. Can I please have 1, 2, 3 time to study? Because not everyone at home, they're doing a degree or they have an experience of being at varsity. So it's something that you really have to negotiate with them, and so that they can be understanding of your journey. And the other thing I think Mr. Tebogo touched on is when you speak to your lecturers, you need to be in contact with your lecturers and tell your lecturers that this is what, these are my struggles. There were times where I had to go to main campus and knock on lecturers' doors and call them and send them emails and say, this is what I need, this is where I'm struggling with and I need assistance with. So don't be shy, you know, to go to lecturers and speak to them. And the other thing is, I'm not going to lie to you and say this is a very nice, shine, great journey. There are challenges, though. Sometimes you will wake up and you will feel like, yo, why me, you know? Because at times I would wake up and like, why is this such a struggle for me? Why for me to get something so simple, I have to first struggle, I have to first fight for something, you know? And there are days like that. But you need to know that this is your journey, that you are the main character of your life. You are the steering. If you are not there, then there is no you, there's no life. And the one thing that you don't know is that you see this as a struggle, but for next door, in your community, at school, in campus, you are someone's hero. You know, when they look at you, they're like, how, like, you know, there's some family members, when I go to family events, they'll look at me and like, yeah, but we never thought that you would be, you know, because you were always that very slow child, and look at you now, you know. And that's because of perseverance, and that is the positive perceptions you have of yourself, you know. You always affirming, saying that I can do this, I am able, not focusing on your challenges, but mostly focusing on your strengths and what you're capable of doing.
Oh, wow, that's nice. Thank you so much. I think I wrote down a couple of few points from that. I actually learned a lot from what you've raised, or from your story, from your journey. I think one thing I've learned that I would like to share with everybody is that a support structure is very, very important. In this case, it would be your surroundings. It will also would be in UNISA, like the way Mr. Nguna was actually explaining the process of how to assist students with disabilities from the first year until you graduate. I think the process, the way he explained it, the financial side, the way he explained, I think he spoke about human capital, if I'm not mistaken. And then he also spoke about just from registration until you complete, when they call your name in stage and say you've graduated. I think that process, he explained it nicely of how UNISA is assisting students from first year. So I think also what he raised is this, you shouldn't be afraid to disclose your disabilities, so that from first year until you graduate and going on to your postgrad, UNISA is able to create that environment for you where you are comfortable and you are able to actually complete your academic journey. And then another point you've raised, Ms. Mukobedi, is that you shouldn't be listening to negativity. Shouldn't be listening to negativity, whoever you are, from all our walks of life. Negativity will always be there. People will always be saying, it's your family, your friends, or wherever you are, people will always be saying negative things. So you shouldn't be listening to negativity. You must build a positive environment so that every day when you wake up, you are able to look at your studies and say, I'm able to do it. And then another point that I think I've picked up is that you must believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. Ms. Kobedi shared how her family now is saying, as a master's student, that we didn't think you were going to make it, but here she is in 2021. She's a graduate, she has 2 degrees and she's completing her 3rd degree. So it is possible. So you have to believe in yourself. And then another point that I picked up is that do not compare yourself to other people. Do not. At any point, do not compare it. Like she said, it's not going to be an easy journey, but do not compare yourself with other people. And then maybe the last point I can say is that, you know, I think she raised the point of saying that someone can look at you and look at their hero. So your journey, it might feel a bit lonely or that you are alone, but at the same time, when you're done, just remember that someone is looking at you and learning from you. You're motivation to someone. It might not look like that at that stage, but you are in motivation to someone. So with that being said, maybe I can go to my other question of next in my pool is that I think Mr. Nkune has raised that there are support structures to able to assist students with disability if they disclose, and then students who do not have a disability, you shouldn't take advantage of the department on the services that UNISA is actually offering. But I think maybe we can touch on what support structure is ACSWIT able to provide to students with disabilities. I think maybe Mr. Nkune, you've touched on this already, but maybe just to go back on what support structures.
Thank you, Ms. Zulu. What I can also add is that students with print disabilities, they can also approach ACSWIT if they need prescribed books in electronic format.
Okay.
ACSWIT work with publishers both locally and internationally. And then the process of requesting this service, we require a student to complete an undertaking, a declaration form,
okay.
That they will use these books only for their studies. Because in the past, we found that certain students were behaving unethically by selling copies of the electronic copies of the books that they received from the university. Mm. And the other support structure that we have, we've established regional forums in all the UNISA regions for students with disabilities. Wherever you are as a student, you can knock in the door of the UNISA regional forum for students with disabilities, and then they will assist you and listen to you. We also have a national association for students with disabilities. Because we believe in the slogan for persons with disabilities, nothing about us without us. That's why we have these forums and the association to ensure that they are involved in decision making on matters that affect themselves. And also, we continue with awareness campaigns to ensure that the entire UNISA community is able to understand different disabilities. Mm-hmm. If I may pause then for now, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think my next question with that being said is, so since we are a diverse community of UNISA students, how then can non-disabled students contribute into making the journey of students with disabilities easier and enjoyable? Maybe from a student perspective, Mr. Chike, you can maybe voice how students with non-disabilities are able to make, we're able to make your journey more easy and enjoyable in the community, in this diverse community of UNISA.
Thank you very much, Ms. Zulu. I think we are a society which is diverse, as you rightly put it. And in our communities everywhere, there are people with disability and people with non-disabilities. For me, it's always a problem when I enter a lecture room. I find people with no disabilities or hidden disabilities. So people will watch you as if you do not belong.
Yeah.
But, I wonder where they come from, whether in their own communities, society, and families, are they not people with disabilities? It's a stigma and stereotype that we must always challenge. Society, I'm happy that we have a university like UNISA, where we have offices like Aksuit, where these things are being dealt with even at the level of management, at the level of operations, where we don't feel like outsiders when we are at the university. But in general, stigma of the people with disabilities will always be there, and stereotype. Will have to challenge it every time where it raises its head, and ensure that we get support from groups, from families, in order to deal with this. As a student with disability, there were times where I would go to a room and you'd find that I know when we were doing, when I was doing my MPL, when we were there for the classes, you'd find that our toilets were very far from the lecture room. I complained about them and I discussed them with the management there, which I found to be very responsive and responsible about it. And they suggested things that I can do in order to be able to be comfortable. And I was happy with them. I'm saying it's something which is a struggle for us. Society has not yet encompasses the idea that we are living in a society that is diverse, and people with disability are also part of that community. But I'm saying generally, throughout my studies, because of Aksuit, I found my journey very easily. I went with my studies very well, and where I had problems, each time Pintias will hear my call coming in, pick it up and say, Pintias, I'm frustrated by this, he will intervene. By the time I went to classes or went to exams, things were fine with me because I arranged with him in time and we dealt with issues in time. But it's a struggle we must all pursue as people with disability and society in general, that we kill this stereotype. Any society has disabled people, and I think it's only normal that we make certain adjustments to accommodate all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chike. So I think that's the whole point of this broadcast is to actually kill the stereotypes, to learn and to actually make everybody aware that in the community, in the UNISA community or students in UNISA, that we people from diverse backgrounds. But I actually wanted to find out, before I come to you, Ms. Vanessa, maybe Mr. Nkuna, how then has the structure changed with reference to the shift? Because now students cannot really come to campus and actually like have a one-on-one conversation with Aksuit. I know that you can send an email and your timely communication is always applauded. But then students cannot really come. I know that they can be able to go to regions, but now, since then in the pandemic, how then can students actually access all these structures, that lovely structures that UNISA is actually providing in this case?
Thank you, Ms. Zulu. As Aksuit, despite COVID-19, we continue to provide reasonable accommodation to students with disabilities. Then students are able to contact us, whether telephonically, through Teams, and also to visit us, because as we speak, we have colleagues who are on standby on campus, because we know that for persons with disabilities, traveling is quite expensive.
Yes.
Just to give an example, if we have a student who's quadriplegic, who will travel from Soshanguve to UNISA, only to find that they don't get a service, we find that the student may pay about 200 or 300 rands to get them. Therefore, we always ensure that there's somebody to provide support. And again, I must also emphasize that students, they visit our campus all the time, and also they contact us to make arrangements. For students who are deaf, who need sign language interpretation, as you can see, Ms. Mabaso on Teams, She's available to sign for the students wherever they are. And also, we have multi-purpose computer labs in all the regions. And these labs are equipped with access technology for diverse disabilities.
Yeah.
Which means a student can go there and make use of those resources. If they want to connect with us in cases where they have connectivity problem at home, they are most welcome to go there and make use of the services. And again, in terms of blind students, we also provide what we call O&M, orientation and mobility. From time to time, you'll see students moving around or walking around with the white cane. Then we have dedicated staff member who train students to live independently. Then in a nutshell, we continue to provide services to students with disabilities anytime, whenever they need us. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Nkuna. I think adapting to the times is very important. And from what you are saying, I picked up that UNISA and ACT-SUITE in UNISA is actually providing different ways to make students with different disabilities in order to achieve their goals and their academic work easier. And also another thing that I picked up is that from this conversation, it's very, very important for all students. It might seem, it might be hard because of maybe your environment and the society, just like how Mr. Chike has said, that there will always be people with disabilities in every community. So stereotypes should be broken down. Those walls should be broken down. But with that being said, I think from what you are saying, I'm picking up that it's very, very important to disclose your disability, so that as UNISA we are able to assist all challenges that as a UNISA student who's disabled, that you are able to actually make your academic work journey smooth. But with that being said, I don't know if we actually touched on this, but so then, yes, we have structures that UNISA is providing, like ACT-SUITE, but now as part of that diverse community, how then should other students, or how have other students actually, made other students' journey more accommodating, more easier and actually enjoyable? I don't know, maybe Ms. Mokobedi, you can come in this conversation. How can non-disabled students contribute to making the journey of students with disabilities easier and more enjoyable?
The first thing is to see them as human.
Yes.
They are human, they are just like them. It's just that they have a certain ability or they are restricted in a certain way. And the second thing is, in my undergraduate and honors, I was part of the SRC at UNISA. And as part of the SRC, we would see students, assisting other students, where we would go to the lines, and where you see that there's someone with a disability or someone who does not understand the process, we would take them out of the line and we would assist them. And I was also part of a structure called SAINISA, where it's a psychology association of psychology, where we assist students, and we create a WhatsApp group where it's sort of like a community where they need assistance, then they speak, then students are able then to help each other, who are doing psychology, whether with study material or if they don't understand a certain question and so forth. So I would encourage students that as much as you are a UNISA student, don't be in isolation. There are the structures for every college, you know, there's COMSA for communication, there's BLASC for law students, there's EMSA for students who are in the economics and management science, as well as education. So there's structures for all the colleges at UNISA. So familiarize yourself with these colleges and get involved with the students there, because those are the students who dedicated their time and effort to help other students progress, you know. So UNISA is not in isolation. You are not alone. There are a vast number of other students who are there to assist you, and once you communicate with them, they will put you in WhatsApp groups. There will be that support team for you. And there's also, I was also involved in the Directorate of Career Counseling and Guidance, the DCCD. So the DCCD is also there to assist students with academic challenges, career issues, study issues, and personal issues as well, because there's clinical psychologists there. So whatever challenges you face at home, or you are that student and you just feel so depressed, because it is possible to be depressed, you know, especially when you have a disability, because you're always restricted. You can go there, you speak to them. If you're not sure about the career path that you've taken, you go there and then you just have a chat with them.
Okay, thank you so much. I think you've touched on a lot of structures, especially from students who were able to contribute into your journey in a positive way. Thank you so much. I think what I picked up from what you were saying is that, or maybe for you, or it's your personality, I don't know, but you were saying that you have to involve yourself. So if you involve yourself with people, other students there were able to actually assist you in whatever you needed, and also point you to the right direction of the different structures that UNISA is providing. So I think as a UNISA student, you have to involve yourself. I think that's what I picked up from what you were saying. Maybe just to touch on how then, maybe to you, Mr. Nkune, how then do we actually address or unpack some of the terminologies that we should all be aware of in the diverse community in UNISA?
Thank you, Ms. Zulu and colleagues. Like colleagues, Mr. Nchike and Ms. Mkobedi mentioned earlier, it is important that we treat persons with disabilities as human beings. That's why you say a person with a disability. You see the person first, the disability after. From time to time, we hear people outside there saying there are those who are normal, and immediately when you say normal students, then what do you imply to us with disabilities? Are you saying we're abnormal?
Yeah.
Please refrain from using this normally versus abnormally. We are persons with disabilities, and then those without a disabilities are persons without a disability. And from time to time, we find people referring to deaf people, saying deaf and dumb. If one may ask, what is dumb?
Yeah.
Because people who are deaf, they are not dumb. And again, you'll hear people saying the person on a wheelchair is wheelchair bound. Immediately you say a person is wheelchair bound. We are implying that the person sleeps on a wheelchair, take a bath on a wheelchair, do everything on a wheelchair because they are bound. They are not wheelchair bound, but persons using wheelchairs. And again, you'll see from time to time when people come across you as a person with a disability, they tend to think that if you are blind, you don't know where you are going. then they decide to think for you and say, okay, let me grab the person. Ladies and gentlemen, please know that if you, for instance, you come across a blind person, whether it's in the robots or what, please first talk to the person and understand whether the person need assistance and where they're going, as opposed to just grabbing them, crossing the road with them. They will hit you very hard, because the first thing that will come to their mind is that they are being robbed.
Exactly. Yeah.
And again, you from time to time you find persons on a wheelchairs maybe pushing themselves around somebody because out of good intention, they immediately grab the wheelchair and push it. That becomes problematic because the wheelchair user may fall. For instance, if you're using a wheelchair, you use your upper body to balance. If I'm pushing myself, I know which position to sit. And then if I'm being pushed by somebody else, I reposition my upper body. Therefore, it's important that whenever you come across a person with a disability, if you want to assist the person, talk to them first and find out whether they need that assistance or not. And again, you may find that in that particular time, the person with a disability is just exercising. Then you now take them off from their exercise, then start pushing their wheelchair. And also, it's important that we remove barriers to access. For instance, you find that maybe there are study groups where we have diverse students. Other students will put obstacles on the path that will impact negatively on persons with different disabilities. Like, for example, if there's a banner or there's a chair that is placed in the pathway, a blind person may not see the chair, may end up falling, or a person who's partially sighted may end up hitting themselves there. And also for persons who are on wheelchairs may struggle to maneuver. It is therefore important that each time when you come across a person with a disability, talk to them, see them as human beings. And I must emphasize that disability is everyone's responsibility.
Yes.
And no one applies for a disability. Wherever you are, you can acquire a disability anytime. Or maybe as we speak, you have a disability, just you are not aware that you have a disability. Therefore, it's important to work with persons with disability so that they can assist you accordingly. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Nkune. Olwethu is asking, is this broadcast mainly for disabled students? No. The whole point of this broadcast is to, our theme is disability, but the whole point of this broadcast is to hear from our fellow former students or current students who have walked the walk from first year until they've graduated, and just for them to share their experience with UNISA and how they were able to overcome whatever challenges that came their way. So the whole point of this broadcast is to actually learn, with the specific theme being disability, but we are basically trying to empower you and also inspire you by learning or hearing diverse backgrounds of people who have walked your walk, of which you are, as a first-year student, maybe can learn and take their stories and understand that you are not alone. UNISA is providing structures. UNISA is providing a way for you to make your academic journey smooth. I think, like Ms. Mukobedi said, and also Mr. Chike, is that it's not an easy journey, but at the same time, you should be able to apply yourself in your life, that you need to have time management. You need to be in constant communication with other fellow students, no matter what negativity and obstacles that come, you'll be able to overcome. Look at yourself and say, this is my goal and this is what I want to achieve. So that's the purpose of this broadcast. And also, just to mention that UNISA has a vast diversity of students. So the whole point of this broadcast is to look at one theme, or maybe look at one way that UNISA is actually in our community of different people from different backgrounds. So that's the point of this broadcast. I hope I've answered your question, Oloitu. And maybe when we bring this discussion to a close, there are two more questions that I'm going to ask, but maybe Mr. Nkuna has already touched on this. I think, Mr. Nkuna, you want to say something? Your hand is raised.
Thank you so much, Ms. Zulu. From the question from Oloitu, I've identified an error. Okay. Then I felt that it's important that we address it, and it is important that he raised the question so that he can learn about disability.
Yes.
In his question, he said, is this workshop for disabled students? Just the word itself, disabled student, it's incorrect.
Yes.
It is important that Mr. Oloitu, from today onwards, you know that persons with disability as opposed to disabled persons. For example, Mr. Oloitu and the general student population, if you say, I'm disabled, who come to enables me? Because if you have an alarm system at home, you disable it and enable it. Immediately say disabled, which means we are objects where you can enable and disable us anytime you want. I just wanted to contribute towards that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nkuna. And Oloitu, we're not like ostracizing your question, but I think that we are here to learn. So I think you've learned something with reference to what Mr. Nkuna was saying. We're not picking on you or anything. I think everybody in this broadcast is also learning something today. Mr. Nkuna, you've also, I think you've partially touched on my next question is, so what etiquette should we adhere to as a form of advice to everybody?
Thank you so much, Ms. Zulu. In terms of the etiquette, because we are aware that majority of our students are employed and are community leaders as well, it is important that whenever you are addressing your community or fellow peers, please always find out whether there are persons with disabilities who will need reasonable accommodation. In that way, you'll continue to empower persons with disabilities. And again, it is important for students without disabilities to also raise awareness in their respective communities and churches as well, to ensure that persons with disabilities receive the correct treatment. As I've mentioned earlier, it is important that whenever you visit, let's say a mall or a center of the university, if you find a parking, a wider parking dedicated for persons with disabilities, if you don't have a disability, please refrain from using that.
Yeah.
And if you see a person without a disability taking advantage of the parking, please speak out on behalf of persons with disabilities. And at the same time, we have restrooms which are bigger and they have everything inside just to accommodate persons with disabilities, in particular wheelchair users. Fellow students, please refrain from taking advantage of those ablution facilities. They are made or designed for persons with disabilities. And again, if you happen to be aware of a person who has a disability and the person is not aware of the services that are provided by the university, please encourage them to contact us. Through email, you can send us to axsuite@unisa.ac.za. Then we'll be able to guide the students. And as the colleagues mentioned earlier, we don't only assist you with your teaching and learning. There are areas of interest out there. Like, for instance, if you are a student with a disability or a graduate with a disability looking for employment, we are able to get you in touch with a prospective employer. And again, if you are new in the world of disability and you are still in denial phase, we are able to motivate you, to teach you on how to live positively.
Yeah.
With your disability. Then I'll pause from here for now. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Nkune. I think maybe the last, we all have to learn and unlearn. So I think this broadcast is really very, very useful. And then my last question would be then, so as a UNISA student, should you acquire a disability in any way? So what's the process or what's the procedure to ensure that as a student, you are not delayed in your academic journey or in your studies? I think this question, I would bring it back to you, Mr. Nkune.
Thank you, Ms. Zulu. Should it happen that you acquire a disability, because our disabilities are diverse, please make contact with one of our staff members at Axsuite to see on how can we best assist you. And then should it happen that maybe during the process of acquiring the disability, you are hospitalized, please let us know so that we can ensure that your studies, in case you are unable to study for that particular semester or a year, we can advocate for you for your studies to be deferred to the next semester without penalty. Because if you are not made aware, you'll be expected to re-register for those modules or to pay a certain fee.
Yeah.
Therefore, I'm appealing with anyone, even if you suspect that you have a disability but you are not sure, please talk to us so that we can guide you. And at the same time, there are preventable disabilities. We have specialists in Axsuite who can assist you in order to prevent that particular disability.
Okay.
For instance, if you feel like you are losing your vision, it's important that you pay attention to that challenge, because if you delay, you may end up losing your sight completely. But
Yeah.
if you come to us, we'll make sure that we connect you with a relevant specialist who will assist you to preserve the remaining vision or the remaining sight. And also, in terms of students with temporary disabilities could be maybe during, just for example, now we are in COVID-19, you lose loved ones.
Yeah.
Then after losing loved ones, you acquire a certain disability, depression and the likes.
Yes.
Therefore, you are most welcome to contact us and say, Axsuite, now I have this particular condition, which is temporary. How can you best assist me to study? Then we'll ensure that we assist you based on your individual needs. We believe in assisting students as per their individual needs. We don't have the one-size-fits-all approach. We won't say because you present this particular disability, you must receive this kind of a support. And again, students, it is important that whenever you choose a qualification, should it happen that maybe somebody else influenced that decision negatively because of your disability to take a particular qualification, please report that to us as ACSWIT, because we're here to ensure that we are able to make a decision that suits you individually.
Yes. And
then again, I'd like to say, persons with disabilities does extraordinary things that persons without disabilities cannot do.
Yes.
Just to give an example, Mr. Nchike, as a wheelchair user, he sees the whole day throughout all his meetings. And persons without a disability, if you can ask them, invite them to a 3 hours workshop, they will be asking for a body break.
Yeah, it's true.
You see, that persons with disability does extraordinary things.
Yes.
Blind people, they stay in the dark for the whole day. But if there's a load shedding for 2 hours, what happens to persons without disabilities?
We cry.
Yes. You see, therefore, it's important that you start respecting persons with disabilities and learn from them, because you will never know on when will you acquire disability.
Yeah.
In the general population, increasingly we have persons with diabetes. And diabetes is one of the conditions that leads to different disabilities.
Yes.
Today we have students who are blind, others they're amputated, resulting from that medical condition. It is therefore important for students with or without a disability to take care of your health. And then as UNISA, there's also a health and wellness section where it assists students with disabilities to deal with such issues. Please make use of these facilities. They are there for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nkune. I think what I picked up is that you have to reach out to UNISA. It's not easy, maybe like we mentioned earlier, that, you know, to say, I have this kind of disability, but you have to speak up, because then how else are you going to get assistance? You know, I think that's what I picked up. Maybe, and also the diverse assistance that UNISA provides from different levels. From what you mentioned, for me, it's actually outstanding. With that being said, I just want to maybe go to Ms. Mokobedi and lastly to Mr. Chike on if you have any parting positive remarks with you know, your academic journey, and how basically anything that you want us to be aware of and you want to say to the general population of UNISA students. Maybe I start with you, Ms. Mokobedi. Do you have any last parting words that you want to share? Maybe if you can unmute your mic. I think you need to unmute your mic. Yes, perfect.
So the last words that I would say is that you need to keep on believing in yourself as a student. And the other thing is know the resources that are available for you. If you don't know what is available to you, you should be familiarized with My UNISA. Okay. There is a section where it says student support. That is where you find the academic structures. There's ACSWIT is also there. So use My UNISA because it has all the resources that you need. And just the main aim, as I said before, is just to believe in yourself.
Yes.
Have an end goal in mind, you know, because at the end you would want to see yourself walk or have that degree in hand.
Yes.
And what you're doing, you're not doing for anyone else, but you're doing it for yourself, you know. So first be your own hero, then you'll be a hero to the multitudes, you know. And whatever struggles that you're going through, do not suffer in silence, but always share your frustrations. As Exud is there, they will channel you to the right people, or even to us students who have completed, you know, so that we can personally talk to you and share our experiences with you and the strategies that we use to study and all of those things. So don't suffer in silence. That is what I'll say. Your mental health comes first before anything else. And thank you very much, Ms. Dokozo, for this opportunity. I highly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for actually sharing your journey and availing yourself, because it's a personal journey. At the same time, you are teaching us how to overcome, and at the same time, you're sharing your life experience and you're opening up yourself. Thank you so much, Ms. Mukobedi. And over to you, Mr. Chike.
Thank you very much, Ms. Zulu. Just for students being here, it's a choice of purpose.
Yes.
And for that alone, they are on the right track. My last parting shot would be, don't give up. Don't give up. The journey at the end of the day is rewarding. As a young man registering on that day, I think I've taken one of the best decisions of my life.
Yes.
And for them being here, already registered, being part of this seminar, show me that they are on the right track. Just don't give up.
Yes.
Don't, whatever the hurdles you may encounter, whatever problems, keep going forward, keep going forward. And ultimately you will see this journey is rewarding. The respect you'll get for finishing your studies, for completing your studies, will be something else. I think one of the best decisions a human being can take is to invest in themselves.
Yes.
So by doing this, you're investing in yourself and success is guaranteed. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow. I don't know. I can't ruin that. I think you captured everything. But before we go, maybe we can actually go through a couple of questions. Unfortunately, we can't take the audio. I see some people have raised their hands, but I'll just go through a few questions, maybe. Wow. You know, some of your questions might not be actually connected to this theme, but maybe we can try to sort of assist you. I think maybe, David, it's possible, just maybe post the FYE email address where whatever questions you have, we will try to actually assist you. Right now, I would maybe take questions that are actually specific to the theme, but maybe let me read from Pretorius. Good morning. I'm finding it extremely difficult to communicate to the ad hoc department. I've been sending numerous emails to them and other people, but no one responds. The telephone is not working. I've not been allowed to access campus due to COVID regulations. I'm so stressed. I cannot properly plan because I'm not sure which subjects I will be exempted. I have been granted the credits, but nobody comes back to me with further guidelines and finalization. What I can advise you, Pretorius, is that please send us an email. We'll post it on our chat box. Maybe we'll try to actually refer you to the right department. Well, now it's ad hoc, but we'll try to assist you. Please send us an email with reference to the question. And then one is talking about the finance department. Unfortunately, we're working from home, but which might maybe a bit difficult. However, this should not be a problem as a UNISA student because we're providing the service. I'd also advise you, Kagiso, to please send us an email with reference to your specific inquiry that you want us to assist you with. And also to you, I think it's Nkunti. Yeah, please send us an email as well. And then I don't think there are specific questions with reference to our conversation right now. And then someone is asking about NSFAS. Yeah, that please also send us an email. We'll have posted the email address on our chat box. Okay, someone is complaining about data. Yeah, that one is killing everyone, unfortunately. But I think that is a huge hurdle in this case. Okay, someone is talking about the due dates. I didn't submit on the due dates. And then the due date, I think there has been an extension of assignments, but please don't quote me. Just read your tutorial letter on this one. Alternatively, you can send us an email. So colleagues, I don't think we have a specific question for us or connected to this theme. I just want to take this chance to thank everybody for connecting to this broadcast and for your time. Maybe I can also come back to you, Mr. Nkuna, if you have any last parting words to our guests today, to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, colleagues. I will appeal to students without a disability to create a nurturing environment for persons with disabilities wherever you are. And then I would like to leave you with a quote by Thomas Edison. Our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is always to try just one more time. I thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, that was powerful. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining us. I hope you've learned a lot today, because the whole point is to inspire, to motivate you in the academic journey, and also to actually unpack our diverse UNISA community, and to have an understanding of, the different backgrounds that we come from. So before I even go, there's someone who's asking, I don't know what your question is, Books. So what is your question? I don't know what you, just come again, put it in a chat box, because if you raise your hand, we're not going to take questions via audio. Just put your question in the chat box before we go, because now the webinar is about to end. Someone is asking about the super semester. It's not a silly question, but a super semester is basically for the whole year, you're doing all your modules at once. I think that should be explained in your tutorial letter. I hope I'm actually answering all your questions, which I think the key thing also is you must be able to, from the beginning of the year, you must be able to register from the beginning of the year all your modules. That's how I understand it. Books is asking, my question was, do you help students that are, oh, okay. Yeah, okay, sorry, I didn't see your question earlier. So Mr. Kuna, maybe you can take this question. He or she is asking, do you help students that have parents that are parents to disabled? Oh, okay. Do you help students that are parents to disabled children?
Thank you, Ms. Zulu. From time to time, we assist parents of children with disabilities. I will advise the student to send us an email, okay, so that we can assist accordingly, because such matters are personally in such a way that we cannot discuss them on this platform. Thank you.
Makes sense. Books, Mr. Nkune has posted the email address. Please do send your inquiry to him. Is going to be able to assist you. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Some of your questions are actually not necessarily related to our theme, but please call the toll-free number for student queries, which is 0800 001 870. Yes, thank you so much, David, for posting it. And then our email address is at fye@unisa.ac.za. Please do contact us. And then if you want to contact ArcSuite or Mr. Nkune personally, you see we're going an extra mile. He's giving you his personal email address, which is nkunepj@unisa.ac.za or arcsuite@unisa.ac.za. Oh, okay, someone is asking me to repeat the number, which is 0800 001 870. Yes, that's the toll-free number. Thank you, everybody, for your time, for sharing your personal stories. And personally, I've learned a lot from this discussion. And more than anything, I think everybody has touched on that you should never, ever give up on yourself. You should always plan your time, focus on the positive environment of the people around you and what UNISA can offer you to make your academic journey a smooth journey, and never ever give up. Don't listen to negativity. That goes beyond your academic journey, just in life. Don't listen to negative comments. And more than anything, try to build a positive environment. Are we saying it's easy? No, but we are trying to say, like Ms. Mkomedi said, you are your own hero. You're writing your own personal story. So try to surround yourself with positivity and the positive environment. And more than anything, you must speak up and reach out to UNISA, because there are different structures which will accommodate you in order to make your academic journey a smooth journey. And I would also like to thank our sign language interpreter, who's done an awesome job in this podcast. Thank you so much, Ms. Sophie Mawaso. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Have a wonderful day further. Please do contact us telephonically. We've posted the number, and also us as Student Retention Unit to assist you. And can I just ask everybody, we're going to be posting this broadcast on our YouTube page, on our project side page, on our UNISA. Please do watch it again and actually take time to learn, because this was a learning webinar as well. And also, please fill in a survey. I think the questions that we ask are going to be useful to everybody on other things that you might be experiencing challenges. And if you suggest any topic that you want us to cover, we're going to take that into consideration. So thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Bye. Thank you.